Today I become Wish.com mogul mail because I think that there's just enough information to find out if you should boycott Bayonetta 3 or not. And I want to make sure I get it out in time so that way you can make that decision before Friday. If you don't know, this is Hellena Taylor. She is the voice actor of Bayonetta. She did the first game, she did the second game, but she has not done this third game. And on the 15th of October, she released 3 videos explaining and stating why she is not a part of the game. In this first one that's been viewed over 10 million times, it first starts off talking about her credentials, how she has definitely earned to be paid fair, that she has worked very hard, gone to a great school, and worked with incredible people to do so, and then goes on to say how much Platinum Games offered her to voice Bayonetta 3.
The final offer to do the whole game as a buyout, a flat rate, was $4,000 US. This is an insult to me.
That is an insult to you. $4,000 for the entire game? That is in no way fair. And in the final part of that video, she goes on to say, hey, if you were going to get Bayonetta 3, take that, don't buy it, give it to charity. And I think that based off of that video alone, it is beautiful. It, shows that voice actors are not getting paid enough. It's showing some actual monetary amount that has been offered. And instead of it being totally negative, you're turning it into a positive by donating to charity. But then a couple days later, Bloomberg comes in with their own, not rebuttal, but they come out with some more info in this article saying through their own source that she was offered $4,000 per session to do that at a minimum of 4 hours, about 4 to 5 sessions for at least $15,000. That source remaining private because this is some legal stuff. If you leak things like that, especially when you sign an NDA, you are in huge trouble. Now, it does go on to be floated around that Hellena had asked for residuals and a 6-figure amount to voice Bayonetta. And while that 6 figures is not confirmed, it is confirmed that she had asked for residuals to play Bayonetta. Residuals are great. Residuals are a great way for people that have worked hard on a project that continues to see release and continues to sell to get extra money for that work. Now, that is something that is super common in TV for writers and actors. But unfortunately, back when they did a strike in 2016, the Voice Actors Guild, the Voice Actors Union, stopped short of having residuals be a part of being in the union. If you hired a union voice actor, you had to give them residuals. Instead, they get bonuses, which that's a whole different conversation of getting mad at a union because I think everyone deserves those residuals. It's a little tough that they stopped short, but that is in the past. We are in the current situation of Bayonetta 3. And there is one final piece of info that came out yesterday. Hellena talking one more time about everything. In this first tweet, she goes on to say that she was offered $10,000. In that third video, she does not say how much she was offered. She's now saying she was offered $10,000. She is reminding people that it is evaluated Bayonetta, the franchise, at $450 million without merchandise. I don't know how she got that number. My guess is she looked at sales and did some calculations from there of amount sold to create that number, but we'll get back to that number because it is important. She then goes to explain, which was explained in her videos, that she reached out to the tippity top of Platinum Games and tries to empathize creator to creator to get what she's asking for and saying that she wants to be a part of Bayonetta 3, but she also wants to be paid fairly. And Platinum Games, wanted to have her be a part of the third game, so much so they offered her an extra $5,000. She declines once again. She hears nothing. They then offer her a flat fee of $4,000 for a cameo, which has been confirmed by both Bloomberg and Video Games Chronicles that she was offered that cameo. She says no, and any talk about $4,000 for 5 sessions is a lie. It never happened. With all that information, you would think you can make a choice, but I want to point out one more thing coming in from the current voice actor of Bayonetta. This came out 2 days after Helena's original statements, her videos. And it's this last part here that I think is important, that to keep in mind that she is under NDA. She cannot talk about what she was paid, but as well that there's an entire team working to make Bayonetta 3. It is not just voice acting. It is not just Helena. There is a slew of people, an entire studio of people that have worked hard, and to not punish them for this he said, she said negotiations. And personally, I think that's the most fair way to go about this. I think about this in my own personal world where I was laid off during the pandemic from my radio job. And I wasn't brought back until a year later. But in that year's time, I did not at any point say to anyone to stop listening to the station that I worked for, because I knew people that didn't get laid off, that were working really hard and that I loved and appreciated and cared for. And it didn't seem fair to them that they get punished for something that was a corporate decision to let me go. And I was brought back, luckily, and it has all been kosher and good from there. But in that same case, I think about it like that. As well, that $450 million evaluation coming from Helena has to be taken with a grain of salt, that even though, yes, that could be right, we don't know the cost it is to create the first 2 Bayonettas. And if they're operating in the red, let's say it's $800 million to create Bayonetta, and it's only seen $450 million in return, maybe a little extra from merchandise, not breaking even, that makes it tough. And I think that that is a little bit shown in this part, where I think this 5,000 is a middle ground. It's a way to say, hey, we hear you. We know that you want to be a part of this. We want you to be a part of this, but we just don't have the money that you want to do this. But we can do like this little bit more for you. This is honestly as best as we can do. And I think that's where you take it from there. Do you want to support one person and what they've said and perhaps damage an entire population of people, an entire studio of people, that in an industry that is so fickle could damage the entire Bayonetta franchise? Pretend this third game does awful. They could just bury it. They could take the studio. Oh, you're not making enough. All of you guys lose your jobs for shutting down the studio. That sounds awful. That's for multiple people losing their jobs instead of Helena, who did decline. She does say that she declined to do the work a few times. Now, I do think everyone is entitled to their fair pay. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that she was offered, and I think in my interpretation, Platinum Games said, we can't do what you want, but like, here's as much as we can give you. And Helena has still said no. And to me, in this situation, I would prefer to support all of the people that worked hard to make it happen than the one person that is making a stink. And seems a little timely that 2 weeks out before the game is supposed to be released, she does, for lack of a better term, a smear campaign to try to bring those sales down. To me, that doesn't seem fair to everyone else. But I don't know. Maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think I'm right. Where do you sit in this? Are you getting Bayonetta on Friday? Please let me know. Let's have this open dialogue here to figure out some solutions and maybe get some moral answers so everyone can be happy, at least on the consumer end. Until then, boys.